All right, so we're going to start. Thank you, Yemi, so much for joining me today. This show basically is about finding entrepreneurs who are like-minded, who come from different variations of backgrounds. And I just ask them 10 simple questions to help people on their journey become who they want to be, or if they want to join and try to be an entrepreneur or own their own business, or even, get their family to a point where you have. So the point of the show is, for me, is to surround myself with people who are like-minded and people who I admire and people who I strive to be. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to jump into right away a question for you.
Yep.
So the first question is, do you have to come from a wealthy family to become a successful entrepreneur?
Not at all. Not at all. I'll tell you a bit about myself. I was a very small young man. I lost my mom when I was 6. So thank God to my dad, who was very, very strong, and all he wanted was education for all of us. So we started with 6 siblings, and then my dad got remarried when I was 10, I think, then. So we're 7 altogether, and everybody is a professional one way or the other. I particularly did not start. I wasn't the most intelligent and the best in my classroom.
Mm.
One thing I knew all through my life was I felt challenged by goals. If I had a goal in my head, I wanted to see myself through. So despite the slow start educationally, I knew that where I wanted to be, and what I believed was hard work pays. So some of my classmates may spend 2 hours studying. Probably I would have to spend 4 hours studying.
Yeah.
I knew that. I knew that was my weakness, but I took care of it. So I went through all the process and eventually became an accountant, a chartered accountant in Nigeria. And I started practicing an audit firm. I worked hard, very, very hard, and differentiated myself through hard work. I picked up everything that nobody wanted to do, just to encourage and build my understanding of good work. And from there, I got into the banking industry. And of course, like I said, everywhere I wanted to make myself different. Different because I wanted to be on top. I wanted to do more hard work. I wanted to be there. I had empathy for doing good things. And it paid off. And gradually, I moved very, very fast to the banking industry. In fact, in Nigeria, before we immigrated, I was a general manager of a bank. Very, very young age. And of course, I did my master's too during this process, a master's in finance. And this was a guy that never, some people may have thought maybe he wasn't going to go through school. He qualified as a chartered accountant and did my master's in finance as well. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a great family. And so my wife, of course, very, very smart lady, also is an accountant. And we loved ourselves to death. And we kept building and building. And we decided sometime that we had to find a place where we wanted to breed our children somewhere different from Nigeria, because both of us, my wife and I, thought were successful educationally, successful by work we were doing. But we weren't sure if we had the right environment. That was not our wish. Our wish is for Nigeria to be a good environment. But things were changing very fast. So my wife thought we should migrate to Canada, and a couple of incidents occurred at that time, and those were details that propelled our reason to leave. So we moved, and we started here from nothing. Like I said, I was, in fact, just before I left Nigeria, I was invited to another bank as an executive director on the board of a bank. And these were not small banks, but my wife had said, if I took the job, I got the letter, it when I took the job, she was going to come back to Nigeria, or we're going to stop. Anyway, so I left that, and she said to us, if whatever we have in Canada, we'll make do with it. So we left everything. We left everything in Nigeria, put the little kids, Tenny was only a few months at that time, in 4 or 5 suitcases, and we moved here. And we started from nothing.
Wow.
And Grant Thornton at that time gave me my first opportunity as an accountant. I worked with them for 1 year. And my wife worked with Steve Cummings as a bookkeeper. And she went back to school. She struggled and did her MBA, and eventually did her doctorate degree, and then eventually joined the government. I was lucky enough to leave Grant Thornton at that time to join Scotiabank. So between Grant Thornton and Scotiabank in Canada gave me my platform. I would never forget those institutions. Scotiabank, for example, I started from probably an entry level, but quickly identified my skills and my resume, and they moved me up the ladder. And I left Scotiabank to acquire Vanity Fashions.
Yeah.
As a senior commercial manager.
Wow.
It's a long story.
No, it's amazing. I love it, because there's a lot of people who are, working at a bank right now or working in a job, and they're trying to navigate how can they, save enough money? How can they figure out, how can they navigate buying something that they own, that they can put their passion and their pride in, that challenges them to try and do more, be more, and own their, maybe a future that they never thought they could have. So that's an awesome story, because we talk about entrepreneurship a lot, and people make sometimes the excuse that, well, I don't have parents that can back me financially, or how could I move to America or Canada? Like, I have to be, in these certain spots. But it goes to show that you said, you got your education in a spot that you felt comfortable, but you said, hey, I'm going to go where the opportunity, I see the opportunity. And you did that, even though, you had to start back up rock bottom. You went from, you could have been the chair of a bank to now you're in Canada, and you have to work your way up. So now you got to go all the way back up. I think that's...
And Nick, it's never difficult to climb.
Really?
It's a desire to climb.
Okay.
During because it's a recording, I've cut down there are so many failures in my life, but I never saw a failure as a down. I saw a failure as a challenge. Mm-hmm. And there's so much to learn when you fail. So I took it so seriously, and those failures actually helped me to grow further and faster. Wow. But like I said earlier, there always must be a goal. Not everybody can become an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Not everybody has the desire to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that you do not need all the money in the world to start your business. Mm-hmm. You need good people. You need the knowledge. You need the ability to be able to ask. You don't have to be proud about it. Anything that comes into your head can be developed into a business. In my scenario, and because of my age, starting from scratch wasn't part of my plan. Mm-hmm. I wanted to buy a business that was established and was ready to go, but a business that could be scaled further. So I identified Vanity Fashion as a well-run business, that had good cash flow and had good people. Those are the very, very, of course, you must also have a great product. Mm-hmm. If you do not have a product, there's nothing to sell. Mm-hmm. If you do not have the good people, there's nothing, people will not be able to work in the company. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the former owner, Brian Swartz, had set up good people, good product, and a good company. This is a 30-year-old company before I bought it. Therefore, all I needed to do was to look for, how do I buy a business like this? Mm-hmm. Where do I get the resources from? 2, what do I want to do with the company and the people after I bought it? So I needed to look for finance. And because I'm a trained banker in finance, credit, I knew what to do about that. So I went to the right set of people and I got the right support from BDC and I used the right consultants to do that.
Wow.
I also got a good support from TD. They acted proactively and, it all went through. But again, looking at the people is key. In any organization, you need good people because how much of the industry did I know? I came in here to learn. I know what the job was. I understood what the company did. I studied it. I worked in it, but I could never know it more than people that were there before. So I started learning from them, and together we have built this company to the next level. COVID has been, the virus has been a deterrent to where we're going. It's really disturbed us a lot, but we know that we'll get back to what we're applying. We have so many organizations here in Nova Scotia. I'll tell you this, and you have seen it. About 95 to 96% of the economy is driven by small business. So to be an entrepreneur is a big deal for any province, country, or the world. Business owners make the economy. They are the people that make an economy succeed. Therefore, there's kudos to every business owner, no matter how small or how big. So it is important to think about it. And you know what? It's hard to create wealth without being an entrepreneur. You make a mistake, you move on. You make a mistake, you move on, and you learn from those processes, and you help the economy to grow.
Wow. Yeah, that answers my second question. Like I was going to ask, why is it important to have local business? But you just said in the economy, 97% of our economy is made up of small business. And that's why it's so important in times like this with COVID. Yes, it's hurting a lot of small businesses, but a lot of the times those small businesses are the first to donate and the first to help out and the first to give back. So, that's huge. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that, it's worth it. And it's hard to do, but it's worth it because it helps the world go around.
Yeah. Sorry, before I go, in Nova Scotia, and even especially I would say in Canada, there's so many opportunities that the government has put to support because the government understands that businesses actually drive the economy. Therefore, the federal government, provinces have done so much. For example, ACOA has been a wonderful support to me.
Yeah.
NSBI. Yeah. NSBI has been a very good support to me. And I know EDC is there. There's so many organizations depending on your industry, on what you're doing. There's the credit union. There's the EBI. So many small organizations that are set up that you can actually seek help from. Yeah. And they will come together and support you. Two major organizations that have been of tremendous support to me, NSBI, Nova Scotia Business Inc., and ACOA.
Yeah, amazing.
They have been extraordinarily been supportive, and they continue to be supportive. What I've done is that I understand that we have internal resources and we've identified external resources to help us get to where we want to go to. So I'm surrounded with, even BDC has been, of course, BDC has been of great support to us. So BDC is another organization. And of course, my commercial bank, TD and Scotiabank, have been very, very supportive as well. So putting all these tools together, it's hard for you to fail. Because whatever you do not know individually, whatever your staff do not know, when you seek support professionally, you are there.
Wow. Yeah. So don't be as afraid. There's a lot of support systems. And you mentioned a lot of really good support systems that people don't know about, like NSBI, Nova Scotia, I think Business Initiative. they've been amazing for me. And it's crazy that you're saying, you know, they've been amazing for you as well, because there's such a support system that no one knows about. A lot of times when people are in your position or my position where they've worked a job where they're like, man, I have a great idea, it's selling, but I don't have the revenue to maybe fly to another city and, you know, get the sources that I need or have the loan, because the bank won't give you the loan yet unless you have the traction. But I agree with you. And with that being said, I just want to jump into, you know, you've had a lot of success. You've purchased a business for, you said, I think $5 million or $6 million, you know, or that's how much the business was worth. So how do you go about finding a business where you're like, okay, this business does $5 million. How do you go about purchasing a business? That's something that's so foreign to a lot of people, including myself, and finding, okay, this is the business that's going to work. What do you think the top 3 things are, and how do you go about finding them and knowing how to finance it and stuff like that?
Okay, so let me make a quick correction.
Mm-hmm.
The value of the business, the revenue is not the value of the business. So
Okay.
I didn't buy the business for 5 million. So I bought the business a lot less than that.
Mm-hmm.
But the revenue is where your sales level is.
Mm-hmm.
The value of a business could be valued. You could value a business based on EBITDA.
Okay.
The multiples of EBITDA. But depending on the structure of your business, there could be other ways of valuing a business. I would ask that if anybody's wanting to buy a business, they should seek a professional accountant or somebody to support them, because that's you have to buy right. You don't pay too much for a company and then find out there's a problem. So you have to invest in the process of buying a business and knowledge, bringing experts so you can actually determine what's the right value. The second thing is that what do you look into a business? What do you look at in a business that you want to buy? There must be a product. The business must be servicing a niche market. And what is that niche market? What's the demand trend in that market? How long can your product continue to compete in that market? What kind of variation do you need? Is it a product that will die very soon? So take, for example, if you had bought Kodak when they were doing films into camera, Kodak was years back selling, films in cameras. But after a while, nobody knew that, there'll be another technology that would not require those old films. So if you bought it at that time, you probably would have bought an obsolete company. So product really matters. Also, the ability of the company to generate future cash flow is very, very important. It might not be generating the required cash flow at the time you buy it. It might not. That might be an incentive to even buy it, but you can see that it's either due to management or due to circumstances that the cash flow is not there, and you know what you do to rebuild that cash flow, then you can buy it because it can generate future cash flow. The cash flow is the blood of a business. Wow. Any business without cash flow will die a natural death. So we talk about the product, we talk about people, and you talk about the good market niche for your product, and also make sure that the business can generate future cash flow.
Wow. It's very complex to wrap my head around those things, because I'm not in that business of buying companies, but I am in the business of understanding cash flow. So it's something I'm really interested in, but it's really hard. So did you have a team or people around you to guide you on these decisions, or was your experience what helped you because you were in accounting so long and you had the degree? Yeah. Or did you have people around you to be like, hey, is this what I should do?
So there must be some initiatives from you, from the owners. It might come from the family, it might come from somebody, and you think about this, you build this, but then you map up and say, look, what does this mean to you? But as things develop within you, you start to see your limitations in certain areas. At that point, you need to bring somebody in.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you think this is but don't forget, it's your goal.
Mm-hmm.
You have a purpose, but you do not need to drive the purpose by yourself to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you think you have the critical skills to continue, please do, because it will cost you less. But wherever you do not have the skills to continue, and it's still along your path to achieve your goal, there's so many people that you can bring in to support that.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you need to talk to existing business owners. That, I mean, there's really nothing new in the market. Whatever you are trying to do, somebody might have done it before. Could be in Canada, could be in America, could be anywhere. Find somebody who's done it before. Ask questions. Then start bringing in some help. The help may not be expensive to you. Maybe just advice. There'll be so many people that want to help you along your path. Could be your old colleagues, could be I had an accountant who I'd worked with who I thought I were really good colleagues before, and he was part of my success story. His name is Strong and Co. We worked together, and right through the process, he had wonderful. He said something to me. He said, "Yemi, if this does not still go through, you owe me no dollar. And if it goes through, then we can talk about invoicing." What a man, you know. So I had time, called him every night, called him afternoon, called him at, what do you think about it? I had seniors in the bank, in Scotiabank, that I spoke with, who was two of my directors that I really believed in. I sat down with them and said, look, this is what I'm planning to do. He was retired at that time. And he said, makes sense. So I was ticking the box along the line, ticking the box. And of course, I relied on my wife all the time. My wife and I,
Awesome.
She's in the kitchen and she says, and she was very helpful through the process. My children were very helpful too, though they were scared about the process. But, I shared my views with them, and everything mattered. And of course, we're very prayerful about it, and God was good.
Oh, awesome, man. So before we get into a few last questions, we touched on, finding which business is the right business. And you talked about the people, the cash flow, the history, all of that stuff is very important. And I hope a lot of people listening really touched on that. And you also talked about the support that's there. There's a COA, there's NSBI, and there's also the people you surround yourself with are super important. It sounds like you had a group of people who were pretty high up to help you out. And you were like, let me test your knowledge a little bit. And that's amazing. And that's why the point of this conversation is surrounding yourself with the right people to ask them the difficult questions. And I honestly love that. Was there any, along your journey, what was your mistake? Was there mistakes along the way? Like one or two of your biggest mistakes when you were trying to decide to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, the first mistake was fear. Probably I would have done this 3 years ago. But my wife and I were both afraid. We're not sure if we wanted to leave the comforts of working in the bank. And I was working very, very hard, passionately too. And I knew that if I took all the strength that I had working with the bank into my own personal business, maybe it will help. But fear was number one problem that slowed us down. Two, capital, because we're both salary earners, and my father always taught me not how not to spend, how to save. So my wife and I were putting monies together, but we put most of our savings into investments, and they were not investments that we could easily have sold and turned into cash. So that was another challenge. But apart from capital and that fear, the drive in me was the goal of wanting to do something different. And it really propelled my success.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's a lot of things that hold everyone back. And I hope people viewing this can relate to, man, it takes people so long to build the courage, years, months, weeks of just, I can do it. No, I can. I can do it. And one day you kind of make that leap and it's gut wrenching, but that's amazing that one of your mistakes is fear. I've never heard that. A lot of the times you're like, oh, my mistake was putting money in the wrong thing or trusting this and this, but that's amazing. And wow. So I have two more questions for you. And this one relates to entrepreneurs who have families who are afraid to make that leap because they're raising kids or they're putting kids through university and they're like, I can't leave my job because I have to pay for my kids' university and things like that. But as a person who's not only an entrepreneur, but you've seen great success in your children, we just chatted about being one of your children, the oldest one, being a physiotherapist. That's no easy trait. That's hard to do. And your two daughters going to the NCAA, one playing for Austin, Texas, another one for Jacksonville University. And your youngest daughter has been playing, with Canada since the age of 13. So a lot of the times entrepreneurs who people want to become something, they say, I can't because my kids, I got to make sure, my kids are my number one priority. I can't take risks. I can't even think about it. Seeing that success that you've had with your children, and seeing them, live across America, NCAA is no joke, going to Dalhousie and, finishing with a physiotherapy degree and more. That's no joke. It's a lot of discipline. And all three kids, usually you get like one with really discipline, the last one or whatever it may be. But what do you have to say for those parents out there who are like, I want to do this, I want to take this risk, but they say, oh, I'm too old. I got to make sure my kids are in university. What do you have to say for them for that?
So parenting is totally a huge discipline. Thank God I have the wife that I have. She is wonderful, bedrock of wherever we are today. Like I said, when we started talking, it has to be two of you together.
Yeah.
There's no one less or one higher. So my wife has been extremely supportive, and our kids have learned from both of us. I told you my wife has a doctorate degree, even almost at the age of 50 at that time. So that, for us, like I told you, my dad put 7 of us through school, and that's all he gave us, education. So from my part of the world, education is key. Because there was nothing to do. Government, we had no support from government in Nigeria. You have to find whatever you want to do, and it doesn't have to be through university or higher tertiary institutions. You could be a carpenter, you could be a technologist, you could be somebody, but take whatever you want to do to the highest level. So for us, we encouraged our kids. We were very much behind them in all the things that they showed competence in, their education, their sports, their desires. We wanted them to fulfill their dreams, and each of them had different dreams. So my son loved soccer and loved his studies, and he took it through DAL and did his master's as a physiotherapy. My first daughter, also extremely athletic, was number one in the province, played for in Canada Games, and then went to Jacksonville, finished up as a captain, graduated, and joined Mayo Clinic in their lab. She's macro lab now in Mayo Clinic. She works there in Jacksonville. And then my last, also extremely athletic, and also went to school, did very well with school, but she took it a little bit higher than the other two. Started playing for Canada, won a couple of medals and gold at the CONCACAF, and she also played at the Canada Games, and eventually went to World Cup at the age of 17. And then she's now playing and schooling. She's doing some science studies in that first year at the Texas University. We try to push them, but they push themselves the more.
Wow.
It was what they wanted. You can take a horse to the river, you cannot force it to drink.
Mhm.
We were there for them. My wife and I would drive them to school, drive them to sports, encourage them. I was very, very big in sports when I was growing up. I played so much sports.
Mm.
Played soccer. I was in tracks. I played water polo. I played tennis, and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
being in sports would not stop your education at all.
Mhm.
We learned a lot from sport, and I think our kids did. The ability to win, the ability to lose, play as a team, work
Mhm.
as a team, and the challenges of training helped them even in school. Combining education and sports was quite difficult, you know. But so far, they have all, God has been on their side.
So is it fair to say that there really is no excuse? If you're trying to be an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you have to neglect your kids all the time. And
No, no.
if you, yeah.
Like I told you at the beginning, family is a package.
Mhm.
You have to be a father when you need to be a father.
Mhm.
You have to be an entrepreneur when you need to be an entrepreneur. You have to be a mom when you need to be a mom.
Mhm.
And you have to be a mom at work when you want. It's just balancing everything. Once you've decided to have a family, they
Mhm.
are very, very important in the process.
Wow. I love that, man. And I think that speaks to a lot of people who have the fear of, there's a lot of parents out there who are working a job for years and their kids are ready to go off to university and stuff, and they want to pursue their passion. I think this can really give them a boost to be like, if Yemi can do it, maybe I can do it. So I think that speaks a lot of volume to people who are listening. My last question for you is, what is the best advice you would give to somebody who is in their 40s, or they have their kids are 15 years old, and they want to buy a business or they want to start their entrepreneurial journey just to try a new goal? What would your best advice be for that person?
Good question. Fantastic question. Once you've decided to be an entrepreneur, you've chosen a path. Like I said, not every path is smooth, but please follow through. There will be bumps along the way. There'll be trouble along the way. Do not take your troubles or your bumps on other people. Embrace it.
Mm.
Take it as a challenge. Like I said, I failed severally in different ways, but each failure, there's so much to learn. There's a negative reinforcement in every part. There's always a positive reinforcement. So once it's your decision to 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 um, to be an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
build on it, ask questions, continue to manage the process right from grass. But the first thing is, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? If you don't get that right first, then
Mm.
it might be a challenge to pull through. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be what somebody has done in the past or what somebody has not done. And it could be something that somebody has done and you want to do better. But be sure that you're clear in your mind that this is what you want to do,
Mhm.
and keep at it. Bring people, bring people to help you when you need the help. And you know what? Be prayerful about it.
Mm.
You'll probably be successful at the end of the day.
Wow. Yemi, this has been amazing. That really touched home with me, honestly, when you said, when you go through your bumps, try not to take it out on other people, because a lot of the times when you're an entrepreneur, you have so much insecurity. You have to go and prove something and prove that a product will sell and prove that, people will purchase it. And, sometimes when you get bumped and people are like, no, this will never happen, or your sales weren't as high as you thought it would, you go through these ebbs and flows. And sometimes when you go down, you feel a certain way, you feel insecurity about it, and
Yeah.
then you can carry that into your relationships. And that's like such a big thing that I think you spoke about. It was like, when you're a dad, you're a dad. When you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. And I think that when people are going on their journey, that is something they should really think about. Even though they went through a bump, as soon as they walk through that door and they go home, they got to switch into dad mode, and that will really help them along their journey. And I think seeing you as an example of somebody who's come from another country, landed here, you're at the top back to the bottom, worked your way back to the top, put your kids through education like your dad did for you. And they excelled at that, where they have their own careers now, their own paths, and, played at the world stage. And then still, you didn't stop your journey there. You weren't like, this is, I'm just going to live my life through my kids. You were like, you know what, now it's time for my second chapter for me and my wife to go on and do more. And your wife went back to school and got, got her degree. And then you took on this journey to, become an entrepreneur. I think that speaks a lot of volumes to people who, almost think that life's over. But for you, it's a great example to show that, man, it doesn't end. There's another chapter. And that's so amazing. And man, I thank you so much for having a chat.
One thing I'd like to say is for my wife and myself and my children, we really want to thank Canada for the opportunity they gave us. And when we came in 2001, was our first time coming into Canada. And since then till now, we've met so many friends, gotten so many opportunities. But Canadians, and including us today as Canadians, they've embraced, immigrants and supported immigrants. And this is a great opportunity to say thank you to Canada.
Yeah.
For so many immigrants that are just coming in, and some of them that have been here even longer than we are, we should embrace this opportunity and this new land and this new purpose, and to not feel less, of be part of the more, because this is what it's all about in Canada. We've opened the doors, people like us, and I think we've made something of it. And we are extremely grateful, and our children and great-grandchildren will be grateful for this opportunity. This is our new home. We embrace it. We all volunteer. My children volunteer. I volunteer for so many organizations, too many organizations. Just a way to give back to all that we have gotten from Canada. And we are part of it now. I am full-fledged Canadian citizen, and we are blessed, greatly blessed.
Man, I love it. And we could talk all day. I swear, each time you speak, I want to build on that, the volunteering stuff. I swear that stuff's so important. Giving back is so important. But I know you're a busy guy, and I know you have a company to run with many, many employees. More than I can imagine. I have not gone to that scale yet, but one day I hopefully will. Keep you really close, keep you in my corner for, those days where I can give you a ring and be like, hey man, how do I manage a team of 20? Because going from 5 to 10 and getting to those double digits is something I haven't done yet. So expect a call from me.
Yeah, anytime, Nick.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
How's your swimming going?
So I still haven't learned completely yet, with COVID shutting everything down, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to push myself to try something that I'm very afraid of. So after I learn how to swim properly and swim comfortably, I'm going right into fighting, so MMA stuff. So I want to I'm always trying to shock my system a little bit. So
good for you, and good luck with your business.
All right, thank you so much, Yemi.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.